Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. I hope you have yourself a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about LGS models that work. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me recently about, should I start a game store? Should I go into business? Should I expand what I've been doing online to do a physical retail location? I don't know if it was my video that did the 5 things that I hate about owning a game store that jump-started that or what, but today we're going to talk about what I think the different models of running an LGS work. I'm going to share with you my thoughts and all the things. So let's go into it. Number 1, I will talk about my model. This is Game Grove, Kitchen Table TCG, the YouTube channel. The online is a mixture of online and local. It is a very, very confusing, chaotic mixture of having a retail location, physical game store that people come in and play, and mixing that with online. And I think that the bare minimum of a successful LGS, in my opinion, for the vast majority of the country, in America, that's what we were talking about, would have to do a business model like this, where you would have to have some form of online meeting the local scene. I just think that's the bare minimum. I don't think that now if you're a store that's been around for 30 years and you've got the customer base and you've paid off your building and there's all other stuff, you can do that. But if you were to start a business today, I think that that is the bare minimum. For us, the bread and butter of what we do locally is buying singles that then end up getting sold on TCG Player. There's a whole mixture of business here, but that is the best case scenario for us for a customer, is to bring us their cards, either trade them in, and then we sell a lot of those cards on TCG Player. We also sell cards locally and that kind of stuff, but the vast majority of our cards end up selling online. And then you host events and sealed in the store, and so there's a community element of that, but the vast majority of the business ends up being this kind of culmination of chaos mixture of online and local. For me, I also have the addition then of the YouTube channel, which I would recommend to almost anybody who was starting out a channel or a store, because there's no reason not to. People like, in my opinion, people like seeing behind the scenes of this kind of stuff. That's what I hear from you guys all in the comment section anyway, that people like to see the behind the scenes. And you're seeing this in a lot of different things. Me, RNG Games, Cardinal Gaming, they've been doing it for a long time. There's others out there too that are mixing not just selling online with a retail location, but they also have the added benefit of having like a YouTube channel. I know RNG Games has a Patreon. We've got the Discord server, kitchentabletcg.com. You can hop in the Discord server. It's free to be in, but then there's support tiers there that allow you to get different things. And then you've got the win here from the YouTube perspective is increased growth of customer base. There's some amazing customers I have from the YouTube channel that buy a decent chunk of product that help keep things moving. It's not always highly profitable, but it helps keep things moving, and it's a wider base of an audience than locally, especially here in West Virginia. But also it gives you the ad revenue. That's a potential, but more importantly than ad revenue, because it's not that high to be honest, is the potential for growth outside of a local thing that's limited to the growth range of your local area. The YouTube channel allows you to grow wide and really, it gives you a lot of potential if you put the time into it. And that's for me the win of this whole thing. The local store is awesome, and I love the community that we've fostered and we've grown, but it would not sustain myself and my family and what I want for my life. The YouTube channel, on the other hand, has the potential, because of the growth potential of it, to reach a bigger audience, of which this can kind of turn into like a real full-fledged thing, which it already has. So the mixture of online and local, I think, is the #1 thing. And then adding into that like a YouTube channel or some sort of TikTok. I've seen some really great Pokemon stores popping up lately that they've got Facebook groups or like a Instagram Reels type thing going on, and there's a lot of opportunity to make content out of this world because people like it. So that's #1. #2, business models for an LGS. This is one that I'm actually pretty jealous of, and that is the Game Store Plus okay? Here at Game Grove, we just are a game store. You come in, you buy some Pokemon cards, you buy some Magic cards, you play some games. We've got some other, things going on, but the bread and butter of this is just it is a game store. I am a huge fan of the businesses that are starting up that are like game store plus a bar, or game store plus a full-fledged arcade. I've seen that one too. Game store that gets people in the door to do other things. The plus is what brings people in. Maybe they've got a VR room. There's a store in Maryland that's got a huge VR room that brings people who aren't Pokemon fans, who aren't Magic fans, who aren't whatever, into the store, and then they find something else that they might like or whatever. The bar one is a really crazy one because the profit margins on that stuff are so much higher than your typical card game stuff. And so I think that that's a really, really strong business model if you've got the ability to do that. I don't have the ability to run a bar. I don't have the drama level of that is higher than what I want to take on in my life. You've got to train your staff. Your staff has to be not over serving, and there's all those legal things that I don't want to deal with. But I think have a huge potential for somebody who already knows that world to also go in and add the game store element. It gets people in the door, and then you've got the better profit margins on top of that. So that game store plus I think is really cool. And maybe if you're watching this and you're debating, should I open a game store? Maybe you could think about what are some things that you are already really, really good at that you could create a business that is the plus to a game store. And I think that is the win. If you're good at something like that and you also love Magic or love Pokemon or love Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever it is, it's an addition to something you're already good at. I think that's the key there, that game store plus. So I think if I could redo everything, and I didn't have the YouTube channel, because when I started this store, I had the YouTube channel, and that was just the natural way to go. If I were to reset and restart and you told me I had to do a game store, I think I would probably go with one of those plus things where you have, you're not so connected to Magic and Pokemon for success. Your success comes from somewhere else, and you're able to benefit success with the Pokemon and Magic kind of packs and running some events and that kind of stuff. There was one locally that was a restaurant. I don't know whatever happened. They went out, I think right before the pandemic, but they were a full-fledged restaurant, like Burger Shack. And that was kind of cool. We went in there a couple times and had food and played Magic, and it was kind of interesting. I never played like in an event there, but it was cool to be able to go there and buy cards and also eat a burger. And that was cool. And so like there's ways to do that, but you gotta be really, really good at the plus. I don't think it works unless you are an expert in that plus thing. I just don't think there's any way to do it. All right, so you've got the mixture of online and local that I said was like just the bare minimum. You've got the game store plus, and now I'm gonna call it the 1%er store, okay? These are some of the stores that you may be familiar with online, the newer stores that weren't around 30 years ago and didn't get that huge boom from that. But this is the 1%er store. This is the super high volume sellers that make basically no money in terms of profit margin per box, but they have a infinite source, seemingly, I know that I'm exaggerating, they have an infinite source of money to put towards product, to get their product, their costs down so they can sell below anybody else and move super high volume in order to make a couple bucks a box and sell lots of volume. They are people who are able to take an extreme amount of risk like that. I am not willing to take that amount of risk. It's just not what I have things that I care about more than this store that I'm not willing to take that amount of risk. And I also don't have, a lot of these stores have another company that's kind of backed them. Maybe it's that they inherited a company from their parents, or they've worked, they've got a lot of different things going on with them. They've got different businesses already very successful that bring in metric tons of incomes in different industries. And then they additionally have this game store. And what it does for them, the win for that owner is that they get access to cards cheap. They get access to, obviously not just distro, but their own personal collections get to grow as a result of having a business that they buy singles and they buy cards and whatever. And for them, the game store, my opinion, for them, the game store is kind of like a hobby. It's not their significant means of income. They already have a significant means of income or a security net behind them in order to do this kind of high risk, high volume sales that you're seeing. Now, I don't know that. I don't know that world. I'm not in that world. But that is my interpretation of that world from talking to various people who are in that world and from what I see on the market. That is not probably you. You probably don't have the ability to take, $400,000 risk level on Magic product for every release. And you probably don't have the infrastructure behind you to do that. I certainly don't. Now, the thing is about the 1%er store is that they are very, very similar to the 0%er store, okay? And this is the fourth business model that is viable. But hear me out. 1%er store, very viable. A business model that works if you have the infinite, amount of money behind you, if you can take that risk. The Game Store Plus is a business model that works, again, if you have the expertise in those things. The mixture of online and local, it works if you're willing to put the work and energy into it and to do it. And this is the 0%er store, the fourth business model that I think works to some degree for what it's trying to do. The 0%er store is your friend who got in a fight with the LGS or maybe just it's your friend who plays Magic and they're the person that's always running things and there's no store locally, or they got in a fight with their LGS and they decide they're gonna create a store and get access to distribution and run a store as a hobby and as a fun thing that they do. And their goal is not to make money. Okay, their goal is not to make a living. They have another job on the side. Maybe maybe it's a great job, maybe it's not a great job, whatever. They have another job on the side, and they create a local game store that is open sporadically, random hours. They close a lot, but their goal is to get access to distro for them and their friends. And they sell cards and they do whatever, and they're open. They buy some collections and that kind of stuff. But their goal is not to replace their income. Their goal is not to replace their job. Their goal is that they want to have control over their own store and run things the way that they want to run them. And so they do this, and that's a great business model. And for those who want to do that, that's great. There are some inherent downfalls with that. You are always going to be competing with a store, like mine, that is trying to be big and trying to do the things that you have to do. We're open all the time. We have staff members. We have more, I probably have more capital in order to buy collections than a store like that because we're open more, we sell more, we do whatever. We're gonna have nicer chairs. We're gonna have a nicer table. We're gonna have whatever. But there's inherent flaws in that. But at the winning side, there's far less risk, time and energy and effort. Their goals are different and it's still viable. Now, those are the four models, in my opinion, that work. There might be other things. This is retail. And I think tomorrow we're gonna do a video of like alternatives to physical locations. Because I think that the pandemic really changed this whole thing. I really think that if you don't have a retail location already, there are significantly easier ways to create a business without all this in order to create a business behind card games with less risk, less responsibility, and still equal amount of potential growth moving forward. But let me know if I missed any of those. I think those are really the big things. I don't think there's a better or a worse. I really think you have to, if you're interested in this, you have to ask yourself, what are you good at? For me, I'm not good at any one thing. I'm pretty good at everything I do. I'm like average at just about everything I do, right? And so I can have the online store that is average. It's not gonna, my SEO is not gonna get you to buy from GameGrove.gg instead of another company. My SEO is not gonna do it. My YouTube channel, it's average, right? Like I'm not gonna be the next Rudy, right? Like that's not gonna happen, but I'll have my own community that I love. That's great, that's awesome. My single store, we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna do whatever. We're not gonna be the greatest, but I'm very average across the board, which is something I've known about myself all my life, is that I'm a grinder, I'm a hard worker. And so for me, the mixture of online and local and dangling all those plates in the YouTube channel works really well for me, and I really love it. Like I really enjoy it. For you though, you may be really good at running a bar. Man, the Game Store Plus model works for there. Maybe you've got a giant chunk of money or another company that can run as a kind of a way to get you that higher volume. That works for, or maybe you just want a place to play because you don't like the local store around you and you want to just create something for yourself to hang out and enjoy. The key is to understand who you are. And in my opinion, the key is to understand who you are and not try to be somebody else. Don't try to be the store in the area that's doing this or that. Try to be who you are and what you're good at, and I think it will work really well. Tomorrow, though, we will chat about online and just running a business as a not retail location, because I do think there's a lot to that. If you like videos like this, let me know. I appreciate you all. Join the Discord at kitchentabletcg.com. If you want to support the channel, there's ways to do that there too. Have yourselves a great day. Be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.